Hey everyone, with Scarlet and Violet on the horizon, I decided, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to finally put this up as a little different thing from what I normally do. I'll probably put this up Saturday. Um, for those of you that don't know me personally, I know of the Pokemon games, I know of the evil teams, and I know of the Pokemon, I know of the plot lines, I know what the villains have done. But the first game I actually physically played, start to finish, with the bonus game stuff, is Sword and Shield. And I really liked Sword and Shield. And a lot of people kind of shit on the plot. And I'm going to be honest, I actually enjoyed it a lot. Not just because, oh, I didn't play any of the other Pokemon games. Like, no, I get what other Pokemon games are doing. Especially the later ones with, like, dealing with why you need balance between different biomes for the third one. Second one was mostly just crimes. So was the first one. Crime. Why crime is bad. That's literally Gen 1 and Gen 2. Let's be realistic here. Um, the fourth one had, nihilism and why maybe you shouldn't take it to the narcissistic logical extreme of world shaped around me with no one else because I hate people. Misanthropy is not always a good thing, folks. Um, you know, Pokepita for the fifth generation and, all that fun stuff. Um, Sixth generation was basically, I'm sorry, why immortality is a bad plan, apparently, not to mention why rich people should not get bored slash tired of life. Um, and maybe shouldn't have ways of dealing with freaking super weapons from ancient times. Let's not touch those. And seven was basically shitty parenting and being psychotic and summoning Lovecraftian creatures is a horrible plan. Um, I have opinions. Um, Not to mention the found family thing with Team Skull and why traditions aren't always the best thing. But Sword and Shield dealt with something, and I have never seen anyone touch on this, and this pisses me off, actually. Like, come on, Poketubers, get on the ball. Gen 8 dealt with social media and both its good and bad effects. Um, Here's what I mean. The whole game is, first of all, because it's in a European country, it's centered around soccer culture, which is like probably very big media wise in England and Ireland and all that stuff. So, yeah, you have this big sports themed type of Pokemon game. And sports are very big on social media. Even in America, you see people following basketball players, football players, American football. And by the way, yes, when comparing football European style, I will be using soccer more for the differentiation. I do know what it's actually called, and it is the more accurate football, but I'm pretty sure if I called American football American rugby or something, I would get my ass kicked anyway. Um, but yeah, even soccer, like pretty much any athlete is followed on social media nowadays. So, it makes sense. And a lot of sponsors are around soccer in European countries, especially England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Those are the areas that are really big into soccer stereotypically that Galar is based off of. So, now that we have that little piece of it settled and out of the way, look at the Pokemon trainers, the gym leaders and the champion at the time, Leon. A lot of social media chaos around them, like who's the one in charge of the gym this week, what's going on with them. Two of them are very big on social media in general, Raihan and Gordy. They're always doing selfies and the like. Leon is covered in sponsors, and I've actually also compared this to NASCAR in the United States because those cars are covered in sponsors as well. That's all you really need to know about NASCAR for this explanation. Um, and then there's the punk scene with Piers being a little more underground, not doing the Dynamaxing, which is like the big bombastic thing. So it's like rebellious in a sense. I'm not saying Piers is fake. I'm saying like it is that kind of aesthetic. Like people latch onto that to be like, oh, I don't do Dynamaxing because I'm cool, stuff like that. And it's this very big spectacle type thing with the gym challenges and the Dynamaxing and the big arenas and all of that stuff. Like this is stuff on social media. Not to mention when you go into Pokemon and all of that and you're wandering around, people are talking about like the latest news. You're seeing news articles online. You have your phone with you all the time, your little Rotom phone, and you're seeing advertisements everywhere. You're bombarded by them, what the latest fashion is, that sort of thing. This is all social media stuff that's fairly neutral in the long run, but you do see like Leon helping people out on social media, using it for a positive impact. You see Raihan getting views and, just being fancy. I'll get into what they do for the negative impact in a minute. I'm just going for the positive right now. Interacting with the fans in a positive way. Same with Gordy. You see the collector's cards. People want to collect the different cards. You see Kabu trying to be a good influence by, showing respect to the other trainers by walking out with them. You see all of this stuff. You probably see Milo selling his vegetables or Instagramming. Freaking... Okay, why am I blanking on her name? The water trainer is a fashion model. She is a fashion model. I am so sorry. I am blanking on her name, and I don't know why. I have my phone right here. Water gym leader in Sword and Shield. Nessa. Why was I blanking on that? She's literally named after the Loch Ness Monster. Anyway, apologies for that, folks. But yeah, you're seeing Nessa. She's like a beautiful fashion model, and she's encouraging people to visit her town and fish. She's supporting small businesses with that, kind of like an Instagram model in a sense. A lot of these little parallels there. And of course, Leon being the big one with like all the sponsorships and stuff. But here's the thing. Through the story, you also have Chairman Rose. And you have, his protege Beatty, who, eventually kicks out because of a mistake that you find out probably wasn't so much a mistake as something else. You'll see what I mean in a minute. And he comes off as a very affable businessman, except for when he's jogging in his fucking underwear. I'm never letting that go. But he comes off as this very affable businessman. He is friendly to everyone. He talks to you. He encourages you. He he sponsors somebody of his own. He seems like this very good person. He wants to help the environment. Does this sound like a couple of people we've known in the past, in media? Doesn't this sound a little on the familiar side? Sounds a little Steve Jobs-ish, maybe a little Elon Musk. Yeah, you're starting to get those vibes, and you kind of know where this is going. Of course, Rose turns out to be the main villain. I know everyone's like, oh, he's such a weak motivation, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, hang on. I'm pausing you right there. Rose is a bit narcissistic. He doesn't really see the error of his ways even when you beat him. In fact, a lot of people are like, oh, maybe he's going to be, like, he can reform in jail. I don't think so. He never really realizes why what he did is wrong. Like, he knows he can't control it, but there's a scene in Sword and Shield where Leon is literally telling him not to do this for the exact reasons he shouldn't be doing this. He can't control it. It's going to bring an apocalypse. He doesn't even know if it's going to fucking work. And, it's so far in the future that it's too far in the future. There's no point. You will find a better way sooner down the line, probably for the exact same effect without, causing a fucking historical apocalypse. But he does it anyway. Because, Rose thinks because he's on top of this corporation, he's always right. And people hang off of his every word at the time because he is seen as this big, heroic, good-hearted person who's only doing all of this for the good of Galar until he almost starts the darkest day. See, you remember that little incident I mentioned with Beatty, his sponsor that he kicked out? Beatty broke what seemed to be a national historical monument to get something. And I think Rose ordered him to do it, by the way. That's my theory with that. And used Beatty as a scapegoat, which kind of fits into Rose being a little on the narcissistic side. I have theories about, like, why, too. Like, I have major theories on that. And by the way, thinking on it, people will break historical monuments for the lulz sometimes, or they'll fuck with them for the lulz and probably put it on the internet. Need I remind you of the Suicide Forest and Logan? Yeah, that little incident. Remember that a few years ago? That should have gotten him kicked off of YouTube, but didn't? Yeah, kind of a similar vibe, albeit a little less egregious because it revealed a major truth, as opposed to, and forgive any muffling, my cat just walked in front of the mic, as opposed to, something just pure bad. So, not as egregious, but still pretty bad. You broke this, dude. And it's probably not repairable. But you notice that sort of, was very very, like, big in publicity and stuff. Like, oh, Rose dropped his sponsoring of this kid. And it wasn't until somebody who probably didn't care as much, Opal, who was more of a theater person, and theater is a very different animal altogether, and the reason I think she's more of a theater person is more because she has basically a theater in her gym. She has a stage. She adopts Beatty basically to replace her as the gym leader because she is getting on in years. She's like the Betty White of the Pokemon world, and we all miss Betty White. So it's that kind of, like, thing with her. Like, she probably doesn't give a flip about social media. She's just, this person will fit my thing, so to speak. And then, of course, we find out later on that Rose is not a good person, and, his reputation starts to crumble. Again, this is the Steve Jobs and Elon Musk thing. Because now we know Elon Musk is not a good guy. Yeah, he invented a car that's basically better for the environment. But have you seen his Twitter? This is kind of that same slide. I'm using him because he's still alive, by the way. Steve Jobs is dead, so I'm going to, like, kind of tread lightly with that. But it's a similar thing with Steve Jobs when you find out more about how not great he was, if you research that yourself. And then, of course, it tackles fan bases. Most of the fans in Pokemon are actually really good fans. They're like, yay, we're supporting these people. Woohoo! Like, they're having fun, which is 99% of a fan base normally, no matter how toxic the fan base is. It's just the loud majority. Then you have the Marnie fans, Team Yell. Now, these are a mild example. There's a worse example in the post game, which I'll get into. But we'll use Team Yell as the first mild example, because they're doing things that YouTubers will tell you not to do. Like, you've seen YouTubers who have a problem with another YouTuber. I will use for an example in the atheist YouTube spiral. What am I saying? It used to be, like, kind of like that. That's where I would see it the most. You would have one atheist dealing with a Christian who was particularly nasty. I'll use DPR Jones versus Venom Fang X. That was a big one back in the day, if I remember correctly. Now, people would usually be asked during this feud, do not attack this person. Because if you didn't do that, what would happen is a lot of fans would go over to the other person's page and start attacking. DPR Jones would ask people not to attack Venom Fan X. Because no, don't do that. That's not going to help anything. It's just going to fuel his fire. It's not going to make him, agree. And I mean like attack, like trolling, making fun of, doxing, that sort of thing. Like very extreme version of what Team Yell does with them blocking your way and all that shit for Marnie. Marnie is the YouTuber who's asking them, could you please stop? I'm trying to win this fair and square and you're going to cost me that. That is literally what they're saying, because it would be the YouTuber that gets in trouble in the end for all this bullshit. Now, there's no equivalent to the Venom Fang X half of that, which would send trolls at people and dox people and all that shit, thankfully, until we get to the post-game. The Sword and Shield Bros. Swordbert and Shieldbert. Still the stupidest fucking names you think you're gonna come up with. You could have come up with anything else! They are the celebrities that are like the Logan Pauls, that are the YouTubers that will send their fans and did send their fans at you, because they think they're better than everyone and that they deserve the spotlight, not you. They are that YouTuber, that Instagrammer, that will do anything for fame, and they do not give a shit. And they're not doing it just because they're evil. They're doing it because they're vain, narcissistic, and they want fame. They want this. So they send fans to Sabotage Laboratories. Yeah, that fucking happened. They send people to help them make Pokemon Go Dynamax batshit. I am surprised Kabu didn't kill them for that with the poor little Torkoal that he adopted, apparently, which, yay. I'm surprised Pierce didn't fucking strangle them because he was so scared for Marnie, and while no, there's no Dynamaxing in fucking Spikemuth, there probably was a chance that a Dynamax Pokemon could have walked to Spikemuth and went Godzilla. So, justifiably he's a little bit on the scared side, even though he was helping with the problem. They are the YouTubers and Instagrammers that fuck with shit because it gets them views. That's it. That's what they are, and they don't care. Even their apology in the end, it is the most insincere fucking apology in a video game I'd ever seen. Like, they don't acknowledge their wrongdoing at all. It's very fake. They just say, okay, fine, you win. So they don't get into trouble and in jail like Rose did. That is what they represent. Now you're kind of seeing where I'm going with this. A lot of the plot points, people really didn't see it at the time because, they're like, oh, this plot is dumb. The post game is stupid. But it's a deconstruction of all the social media stuff. I mean, think about it. You see this shit every day in, like, more extreme forms. Because, Pokemon's still a kid's game, guys. They can't really do, like, the sex scandals or anything like that. Oh, God, no. That's where Pokemon does draw the line. Although I still say they could do something like a Pokemon Inquisition in the next generation. That's just me. It's because of fucking Gexus and trying to fucking murder you. Cyrus trying to end the world. Okay, that's a different tangent. I'm sorry. Yeah, they could do something like that, but, that's a different rant. But this deconstruction was a lot more brilliant. I'm not sure how Armored Isle fits into it. I'm really not so sure. That one is like the one like weird glitch with that, but you know what? Not everything has to be in the theme. Like it does like give you a backstory on Leon in a sense. And you also learn that Leon just does not have a sense of direction no matter what. But interestingly enough, well, it's more of a folklore theme with the Crown Tundra. Peony actually fits into the media thing a little bit more. Peony, as we know, is the brother of Rose, and this gives me a theory about Rose's family. Rose's family is an old money business in England, and Rose was the next generation for Rose Industries. And he had a brother. I think they were twins, or Peony was the older one. But Rose was the one groomed to be the CEO. I don't remember the exact relation. I know they were brothers, and Rose ended up becoming the big boss, so that tells me who the favorite child was. Peony was more of a scapegoat, kind of. Like, he was kind of the black sheep of the family, so he basically fucked off and did his own thing. And of the two, I would say Peony is the happier of the two because he has a family, he's doing a job he loves, and he's not in fucking jail. So, yeah, that's kind of like my little short term, no preparation dissertation on why I feel like Sword and Shield has a bit more to it than people kind of give it credit for. Like, it is a deconstruction of social media, how it affects people, and I kind of liked that because it's something that's all over the place. Again, it's, people are talking about like all this social media stuff and like all of this, their favorite trainer, they're getting the trainer cards, collecting that, getting the memorabilia, all that stuff. It's basically about fans, fan bases, social media, sports culture. It's actually really well done. It's just because the story itself is kind of basic when you think about it, there's only like one basic plot line. People kind of glossed over it, and that makes me kind of sad because it actually worked. And it's one of those plot lines where you need to pay attention to the nuances, and that's kind of something you need to practice. This is not a, oh, social media made everyone not pay attention. No, people pay attention to fucking nuances. I've seen it. No, they pay attention to them fine. It's just you need to kind of be willing to pay attention to find the nuances, and I was. I'll probably do a more well-researched one in the future, but if any Poketubers see this or listen to this, maybe you can, like, check it out yourself, see if I'm right. Like, this is just, me rambling. And by the way, as a little, like, just to kind of keep this relevant, because, Scarlet and Violet are coming out, I'm kind of hoping for Scarlet and Violet, that they tackle nostalgia. Because they're doing, like, the past-future type of thing. I kind of want to see them tackling, looking to the past versus looking to the future and the pros and cons of both of those. Because that's the thing. Pokemon didn't just make social media 100% bad or 100% good in Sword and Shield. I mean, there was bad. I mean, Team Yell was a little bit on the bad side, and of course, Swordsbird and Shieldbird, and of course, fucking Rose. But there was good there, too. Like, you saw, like, you were part of that social media thing. You're the champion now. You're part of that, too, and you're a good person, hopefully. Leon was a very good person. He was going out of his way to help people, too, and then he took over Rose Industries and moved it in a new direction that was probably better for Galar, while still keeping the good stuff that Rose actually did manage to do. It's that whole, social media in and of itself is neutral. As much as people love to demonize it and villainize it, social media and technology are good or bad things depending on how you use them. They are neutral. They are tools. A hammer in and of itself is neither good nor bad. What makes it good or bad is if I use it to hammer in a nail or someone's skull. You get what I'm saying here? And I like that Pokemon didn't go in either direction hardcore. It went in a very neutral direction because 90% of it was neutral. The advertisements didn't do anything. The aesthetic was, the memorabilia and aesthetic was like, whatever. Oh, armor, that's what the our Isle of Armor is. Sorry, I just remembered in the middle of this. They're dealing with up-and-comers that are still learning how to be social media and that stuff. Like, they're doing bad things to try to get attention and learn later on and grow as people. That's what Avery and... Why am I blanking on her fucking name now? Oh my god. The only reason I remember Avery is because he was in it. Pokemon Sword and Shield Poison Trainer. Clara, thank you. Thank God I have my phone with me. Avery and Clara, depending on which version you got. I had the version with Avery, so Shield. They learned to kind of, not be assholes. Like, they can't shortcut their way to fame and fortune. as much as they're trying, and they are decent trainers. It's just they need to kind of get that out of their head. And it's really nice to see that. It's showing growth. It's showing, again, it's showing that being a celebrity, and keep in mind, both Peony and Mustard were also former champions. So, yeah. It is that whole being a celebrity is neutral. Being famous is neutral. Being on social media is neutral. It's what you do with what you have. Again, Rose was a celebrity. He used it for bad. Leon is a celebrity. He used it for good. And it is very fascinating with that kind of thing that you see this. I'm probably missing a ton of points here because, again, this is like very off the cuff, and I apologize. But I did want to get this dissertation out because, again, nobody talks about this. It's like, why? This is something that is so relevant, and it is so well done. Like, I am very impressed with how Pokemon did it. And I have another cat with me who agrees with me because my cats are very intelligent creatures, and you should love them. Anyway. But yeah, and I'm kind of hoping that Scarlet and Violet follow that suit with nostalgia versus looking to the future sight. I guess I don't know the name, a proper name for hoping more, like looking forward to the future, like, and probably also showing that living in the present is a good idea too. I kind of hope they do cover that, like the joys and the cons of living in the present on top of future and past. And I do hope they do that because that seems like a very, very good topic for them to cover after covering, you know, how certain things work. I know this is like kind of a departure from my usual Let's Plays and stuff, but I really wanted to say this. And since I have not seen anyone else do this, and I watch quite a few Poketubers, Loxton, Hoops and Hip Hop, M&J TV, like a lot of those guys, and none of them, like even Matt Pat hasn't covered this. You'd think Matt Pat would have jumped on this like a fucking shark. But no, I have to. The little tiny YouTuber with only 600 subscribers has to do this. You're welcome, people. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.